các bạn đang học thạc sĩ ngôn ngữ Anh, các bạn đang học thạc sĩ lý luận phương pháp giảng dạy tiếng Anh, hay thậm chí là các bạn đang cử nhân ngôn ngữ Anh, cử nhân sư phạm tiếng Anh, thì các bạn có bao giờ nghĩ tới cái chuyện là các bạn sẽ học lên tiến sĩ hay chưa? Tại vì mình thấy là nếu mà các bạn dạy đại học đi, thì nếu mà dừng lại ở thạc sĩ á, thì sẽ không được, đúng không? Tại vì trường sẽ yêu cầu có tiến sĩ. Thì theo như mình thấy nha, thường là các bạn sẽ chọn một số cái ngành chính, là thứ nhất là ngành lý luận phương pháp giảng dạy tiếng Anh, tiến sĩ lý luận phương pháp giảng dạy tiếng Anh, tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ học so sánh đối chiếu, tiến sĩ giáo dục học và tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ Anh. Thì ở thời điểm hiện tại nè, cái ngành chính xác, cái ngành mà đúng nhất đối với lại giảng dạy ngôn ngữ Anh thì đương nhiên là tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ Anh, đúng không? Thì mình thấy nguyên miền Nam này là không có chương trình tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ Anh ở thời điểm này nha. Cho nên là cái việc mà sắp tới vào tháng 6 tháng 7 gì đó có một cái trường đại học tư thông báo là tuyển sinh, thì mình nghĩ là cái khả năng cao là sẽ được rất nhiều bạn quan tâm và đăng ký. A Little Bird told me là trường đại học khoa học xã hội và nhân văn sẽ mở ngành ngôn ngữ học ứng dụng, tiến sĩ ngôn ngữ học ứng dụng. Thì nếu mà trường mở ngành này thì mình nghĩ đây là một cái chương trình mà rất là nhiều người mong đợi luôn, và sẽ có nhiều người đăng ký học. Và mình thấy là gần đây là giáo sư Tom của trường đại học University of Glasgow đã có 3 cái buổi hội thảo liên tiếp trong 3 tuần tại nhân văn. Thì cá nhân của mình thấy là nó giống như một cái tiền đề để tạo ra một cái sự kết nối giữa nhà trường, giảng viên quốc tế và những cái người mà quan tâm đến cái lĩnh vực Applied Linguistics này. Nếu các bạn mà quan tâm á, các bạn coi cái clip ở phần phía sau á, thì mình quay lại á, nhưng mà nó sẽ rất là khó hiểu nha. Tại vì sao? Tại vì mình chỉ quay một khúc, chứ mình sẽ không có quay được nguyên một cái đoạn 2 tiếng hoặc là nguyên một cái đoạn dài mà thầy nói. Cho nên nếu mà các bạn muốn hiểu thì mình nghĩ là phải coi cái slide á. Thì nếu mà các bạn nhắn tin thì mình sẽ gửi lại cái slide của trường gửi. Và mình nhắc lại, đó là một cái lĩnh vực khó, cho nên nếu mà các bạn cảm thấy là ngôn ngữ á, nó khó thì các bạn có thể chuyển qua các bạn học lý luận phương pháp giảng dạy tiếng Anh. Còn nếu mà các bạn cảm thấy là lý luận phương pháp giảng dạy tiếng Anh bạn không thích thì các bạn có thể học nghiêng về ngôn ngữ hơn. Thì nó sẽ có 2 hướng như vậy để các bạn có thể học. SFL á, nó không tách biệt grammar ra khỏi xã hội, mà trong traditional linguistics, grammar và social linguistics thì mình xem là 2 cái mảng riêng biệt, đúng không? Còn trong SFL á, thì grammar được hiểu thông qua social functions của language. Có nghĩa là sao? Mình sẽ không chỉ hỏi là cái câu này nó đúng ngữ pháp hay chưa, mà mình còn hỏi là câu này đang tạo ra meaning gì, hay là cái context nào, hay là mục đích xã hội là cái gì. Ok, trong SFL, language có 3 cái chức năng chính, đó là ideational function, là cái cách mà language dùng để represent meaning, represent events hoặc là một cái process nào đó. Cái chức năng thứ hai á, là interpersonal function, là cái cách mà language dùng để tạo interaction, cái stance, attitude hay là cái relationship giữa người nói hoặc là cái người viết với người nghe hoặc là người đọc. Chức năng thứ ba, chức năng cuối cùng là textual function, là cái cách mà language sẽ tổ chức cái text để mà tạo ra được coherence, flow và organization. Tại vì vậy cho nên là cái SFL nó sẽ mạnh ở trong những cái hướng phân tích discourse analysis nè, academic writing nè, critical discourse analysis là cái CDA á, hay là classroom interaction và cả professional discourse.
And he was taught linguistics by great Chinese scholars. So a lot of his linguistic ideas come from the Asian tradition, from the Sino tradition, rather than from the European tradition. And that meant he started off doing things very differently from other linguists in Europe, and it was always very different. And he started off describing Chinese because he was teaching English to Chinese people. He spoke very good Chinese, and he realized that there was, using traditional methods, it was very, very difficult to try and teach and understand these two languages. He had to rethink how language worked to be able to teach these languages. So he started developing his descriptions of Chinese, and then eventually he focused very much on English and describing English and developing this new linguistics, this new grammar. I always talked about language as a social semiotic. Complementing these things, which are syntactic relations. Halliday talks about grammatical functions that relate to the real world. So, for example, my brother is the actor. We call it the actor because it answers the question, what did my brother do? The actor is someone who does something. And that, not subjects do something, so remember that. The actor does something. What did my brother do? My brother crashed the car. We call this a material process. There are lots of different, 6 different process types in English. Remember now, I'm only talking about English. The systemic functional grammar for other languages would be very different. This is the application of the ideational, the interpersonal, and the textual to English. It will be different for all other languages. Okay, we talk about material process. Material processes are those processes that happen in the real world. They're physical. But the reason we call them a set process is because the grammar is different. There is different grammar for material processes and other processes, and we'll see that, okay? And what did my brother do? He crashed the car. Did he crash the car? That hasn't changed. What's changed is we now have, very interestingly, the lexical verb, crash, is now standing on its own. It's just the infinitive, the bare infinitive. In English, really strangely, we separate, for questions, we separate the finite element and the main verb, and for the interrogative, the finite before the subject, so that tells us it's interrogative mood. Okay? Nothing else has really changed there. But how about this? On Tuesday, my brother crashed his car. Now, if we're just looking at an individual sentence, we'll say, well, Chomsky would say that this is just free variation. You can say, on Tuesday, my brother crashed his car, or my brother crashed his car on Tuesday, but that's not right. We use them at different times. And if you're good at writing essays, you'll know that it makes a big difference in your cohesion and your coherence. Maybe you get, on Monday I went to the shops, on Tuesday I crashed my car, on Wednesday I took it to the garage, on Thursday I ran out of money. It's used to start off the new idea in a different place. If you look at encyclopedias, you'll see that they, in 1763, in 1827, they used times, or in the south of the country, in the middle of the country, in the north of the country, they will use it to break the text up and move us into different places in the text. This is very important when children are learning to write, and when adults are learning to write as well, that these differences are important. So now we have the theme is that, but what we have is a different grammar. We have a grammar where instead of an actor, we have a sayer. This can become more obvious when he said, my name is John. Okay? What did he do? He said, my name is John. No. What did he say? He said, my name is John. The grammar is different. There are other differences as well. Okay? With what we call a verbal process, with a sayer, a verbal process instead of a material process, we can have quoted speech from he said, my name is John. We can't do that with a material process. We can't say, he walked, my name is John. In English, this is the most obvious. We know that when we talk about what I call the right now test, if I talk about the dog and stroking it, I am stroking the dog right now. Present continuous. I think it's Thursday right now. Not I'm thinking it's Thursday. Not in standard British English. In Indian English, that's normal. Okay, so we see a difference between mental and material. Verbal is a bit different, we saw verbal. Then we have some slightly different ones, behavioural, which have to do with bodily processes. Relational, as we describe the world. I am, it is, I have. This is where we talk about relationships between things. When we describe the world in terms of its characteristics, it's not about doing anything, seeing anything, saying anything, it's just describing the world. Syntax or syntagms, the sequence of language. But also we have in language, we have the sequence of language, but also the paradigms, the choices. I love my cat, my dog, my wife, my children, Vietnam. Those are choices we can put there. And any word or any structure has its meaning when we think of the other possibilities. Okay, so if I use the declarative, that has its meaning because what the other choices are in English. Going to the shops, I'm going to the shops on Tuesday, different form, there must be a different meaning somewhere. So, this is actually the official word. This is called a curly bracket in English. That is the proper word, a curly bracket. And this is a square bracket. Okay? Curly bracket means you have to choose one of each. Okay? So if we've got a full clause in English, we need a verb, be. We need to choose the mood. We need to choose what the finite is, and we need to choose whether it's positive or negative. For every clause we have to do that, or else it's not a full sentence, yeah? Not a full clause. The square bracket means one or the other, not both. These are and, this is or. So for mood, we choose are we doing imperative or indicative? If it's in I am talking, is han i brain, question is very brain, negative is han i brain, attribution, I'm experiencing of very brain, I think he's speaking, and imperative is brain on the brain. Now, if we just look at the structure, let's think about what I said about Halliday. Let's describe every language in its own terms. So we saw in English you've got the opposition between subject finite or finite subject. That's in the grammar. That means the distinction between interrogative and declarative is in the grammar. Well, if we look at Gaelic, what we notice is the verb to be. Here is ha, here is L, here is L, here is L. That means, but that's got nothing to do with interrogative and declarative. This means that the interrogative-declarative distinction doesn't exist in Gaelic. It's not in the grammar. Instead, you've got a distinction between what is absolutely real. In English, that would be the positive indicative. But then the negatives, the questions, the attributed utterances, he says it, she says it, I think it might be. All those use a different form. This means that the primary distinction in Gaelic is not between interrogative and declarative, but between real and unreal. So if we want to describe so you can have positive effect, positive appreciation, positive judgment, or negative effect, negative appreciation, negative judgment. Curly bracket, choose one for each. Square bracket, just choose. Okay, so that's just a way of describing the grammar again. But already now we've got quite big tools. We've just looked at the grammar and a little bit of semantics, but you think of discourse analysis, we're able to see who's doing what to whom, who's acting, who's speaking, who's criticising, who are we seeing as positive, negative, in what way are we seeing them as positive or negative? With the marked themes, how is the text organised? Is it organised to emphasise different times, different places? Why did Halliday start describing grammar like that? Well, first of all, as I said, it was because he was working with students between Chinese and English, but he was really interested in talking not about clauses, but about texts, about whole speeches, classroom interaction, advertisements, whole texts. So he says the aim has been to construct a grammar for purposes of text analysis. It's not just for the grammar. We analyse the grammar, but that will help us start off on our text analysis. So a grammar that would make it possible to say sensible and useful things about any text, spoken or written in modern English. That idea is sensible and useful. I really like that. He's not saying it's absolutely 100% definitely right to my own kids, but also kids from disadvantaged backgrounds, from non-mainstream backgrounds. But this happens all the way to university. Yeah? Especially when you go to master's and then PhD, or to writing a research article, you have to learn the style. And one of the things that international students find really hard, I don't know if you've written a research article in English, anyone? And one of the things is, you know your subject. This happens to native speakers as well, by the way. You know your subject, you can put all the information down there, your grammar's perfect, because you know English grammar, and someone will say, you haven't positioned yourself, you haven't got the right voice, you haven't created your voice as an author correctly. And you say, okay, well tell me how. You say, well you must be a little bit more critical and evaluative. And of course, if students come to the UK, we always say you must be critical. We say, what does that mean? Tell me. And you say well, I don't know, but you must. You get feedback from an essay, too objective, not enough of the author voice. So then the next time you write a lot of your own opinions, and you get feedback that says, too much personal opinion in here. Your description of the physical characteristics of your body. That should be appreciation. But we don't, we use it for judgment. We know that character is going to be a good person, and that character is going to be bad. So we mix these categories. Positive in one category versus positive in another. This annoys people. There's a lot of work in Hollywood now where disabled actors, why are we always the baddies? Why are we always the villains? The heroes are always beautiful, very healthy people. It's bad for society if you think disabled people are bad. So, interesting how these categories... Right, yes. Person who's there. So that's really the postgraduate team in my section, in my department. Okay, there's also the wider English language and linguistics team. Us four are specialists in PGT programs, postgraduate talk, master's programs, but also we have many other members of staff. These are the main members. Okay. So we now have 2 master's degrees. We had a 3rd master's degree in phonetics, speech language and socio-linguistics. That's having a rest at the moment while they're redeveloping the course and inventing a new syllabus for it. So there's just 2 main programs. In Scotland, Glasgow is in Scotland, not in England, they're both in the United Kingdom. We always call the 2nd degree, the master's degree, we call it the MSc, not the MA. But it's the same as an MA in England and in the States. Okay, it's just called the MSc. The MA in Scotland refers to the 1st degree. It's a historical reason, but so when you see MSc, don't panic, it's just the same as an MA. And applied linguistics and English language and linguistics. Now I've got quite a lot of slides prepared because we're talking about I think the maximum size for any class is 25. I think we stop at 25. It has to be 25, but some of them have got 10 or 12 people. But those of you who've talked about that's a nice size. The teacher can get to know everybody, you can all get to know each other, you can talk to each other in different ways. It's a very nice interactive class size. For your dissertation, you get one-to-one supervision. We will develop our ideas because of what you say and we'll shape ideas together for your work. Developing blended, flipped classroom models. Sometimes you do the reading and then we tell you all about it. Other times we discuss stuff and then we give you reading afterwards. And we're always developing new ways of assessment. This is really important at the moment as AI is taking over. And that's really preparing you to be a researcher in education, in language education. That's teaching you the skills you need and the concepts you need to think about learning to be a researcher in second language teaching, English language teaching, language in the global campus. This is a bit more of a topic. And this is the idea that with the internationalisation of higher education and the internationalisation of English as a medium, what are all the language issues that come up there? How do you think about language? Mainly because we let students choose what they want to talk about and then help them to do that. So when they're writing 12,000 words, they're really interested in it. Makes a big difference if you're interested in stuff. So here's one. Culturally and interactively, I'll come and give a live talk. You can come along to that. You can ask questions, and then afterwards we have coffee and wine and biscuits, and you can chat and meet the person, chat amongst each other, and then carry on talking about the topic. So that's always good fun. How do they show them in the films? What sort of roles are they playing? How are they portrayed? How are Glaswegian accents portrayed? Are they friendly? Are they the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Are they the murderers? Are they the detectives? So that's good fun. And Beth Beattie, who looks at historical linguistics, language variety and national therapy, which is helping people with language disorders, people who've had a stroke, people who've had other problems with mental issues, psychopathies and things. So speech therapy, helping people to speak again when they've had a job. How can you use this in your job application? How is this related to employability so it's not abstract? So every year we're trying to improve that when we teach courses to make sure we cover employability. Here's one that's not so much interest for you, but we have a program that allows MSc students to travel to the For both programs, the deadline for applications is July the 8th. Okay, so this was a student from India. This degree gave me a lot of insights of navigating life and receiving a degree. I'm at a fees for an international MSc of 27,720. A lot of money. Okay, and there's very little I can do about that, but we are working. There is a £10,000 bursary available for more than one student, for 7 students. And Angela and I have been talking to the international department while Angela was in Vietnam as well, and she's just gone now to China. All the time we've been here, we've been writing to the internationalisation department, and the person in charge of internationalisation is great, she's on our side, but we have to persuade